Before my question, I just want to check, what years were you mayor again? Because I'm new to Miami. What years were you mayor?
What years was I mayor? Yes, sir. I was mayor from 1985 to 1991.
Okay.
Thanks to Don Bailey. I mean, he was the one that got me there.
Pleasure. Yeah, but my question was about this. I'm from Tampa, but I've only lived in Miami the last couple of years. And I'm Jewish myself, and you've mentioned repeatedly, your fondness for the elderly Jewish population, how you volunteered for the tenants. I saw a program last week, and this is not something I've heard about before, about the Yiddish culture, the elderly Jewish culture that used to exist in Miami Beach before a lot of them were kind of pushed out by a lot of the development. And it seems to me, just in general, like there ought to be a law. I mean, if it were up to me, if I were God, there would be a law that says anytime a city is going to have redevelopment and they're going to force people out, that they have to have one of two things: either guaranteed equal housing currently available at the time they move, or if they don't have that, some kind of financial vouchers that can give people the chance to pay for it. And otherwise, a government should not be allowed to kick people out. That's just my view. So, I mean, talk about, I guess, your experiences as mayor, with that, because I know a lot of elderly Jewish people, as you know, who are,
Yes, sir. That's an excellent question. What happened in Miami Beach, because I can only talk about Miami Beach, what drove out the predominantly elderly Jewish population was the crime. It got so dangerous to live in Miami Beach. As Officer Ferreira said, we lost 2 police officers within a span of to violent shootings. They were gunned down. I'm not talking about accidental driving vehicular. I'm talking about violent shootings and very much violent killings. And it was sad. Scott Rackow, another Jewish police officer who had been bar mitzvah to Temple Emmanuel, got gunned down and killed.
During this problem, I believe the city manager was Harold Toll, and he had somebody that I believe his name was Roland Rodriguez. And he, especially what I could see was these bad people. Will you comment on that?
Sure. We have to understand, first of all, the Cuban people are beautiful people. The first wave that came in were absolutely phenomenal. And the Cuban people are been a great asset to our community. So I'm not talking about the Cuban people. What I'm talking about are the criminals that Fidel Castro let out of his jail. Now imagine if we took our criminals and sent them over to Cuba. He opened up and unfortunately, I shouldn't say this because I'm in politics, but there was a president there. I can't say Jimmy Carter's name because I'll get in trouble if I say President Carter. He was a nice intentioned man, but he opened up the doors to everyone. And let me tell you something. It was the Cuban people in our community that built the monument for Donald Kramer. It was the Cuban people that went to the courts demanding the judge sentence El Loco to be executed. So the majority of the Cuban people were very good, very helpful, and very kind. Wonderful people. Unfortunately, criminals are criminals, whether from Cuba, the United States, Russia, or any part of the world. And were horrible. Yes, sir.
I want to ask you about 2 things. Did you ever work with Mayor Norman Cement that finished his political career when he said that he wasn't going to get any Marielito into Miami Beach? And what do you remember about the affair of Kramer?
About Donald Kramer?
No, the Kramer, the one that had all that lot of land.
I'm sorry, sir. I wasn't there when Kramer came after me. Thank God, I can't get blamed for that one. No, let me answer the other thing. As far as Norman Cement, I didn't have much contact with him. Being a politician, you're trying to avoid controversy. People would come up to me and they'd be screaming about, are you pro-life? I say, what do you think? They go, oh, I'm definitely pro-life. I'm Catholic, I'm Orthodox Jewish, pro-life's most important. I said, that's a very good stance. Pro-life is very, very good. Then I had people come to me, well, are you for free choice? I said, how are you? I'm for free choice. I said, pro-choice, they call it. I said, oh, good, pro-choice. Well, why? Well, a woman should have a right to... That's a very good stance. Oh, good. So, you know, in politics, whatever you try to answer, I never try to answer. You know, I always try to let you answer it and then agree with you. You know, I had one person come up to me, well, what do you say about liquor? What do you think about liquor? It's a devil's brew. It makes you drunk. It gets you... You know, you're right. It's terrible. I'm a teetotaler. And so the other one would come up and say, well, how do you feel about a drink? What do you think? I'd like a little drink at night. You know, I have a little sip of wine. Nothing like a glass of wine after dinner. Helps the digestion. Good for the heart. Excellent. Superb. The unfortunate thing is if you get one pro-life, they get pro-choice talking to you this way. What you do is you step right and then let the two of them argue it out. You know, you don't ever try to take a stance. You know, the best at that was Bill Clinton. I mean, Bill Clinton, my gosh, he asked him any question. Yeah, that's Ronald Reagan. I love President Reagan. I'm sorry I can't hear you. How many times do you remember that? You know, what's the question? How do you, Iran-Contra? I'm sorry I don't have my hearing aid in. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I know you're not going to name names now.
Yes.
But you did name names in your book.
Yes.
And I assume you've covered your bases regarding libel suits.
Yes.
Now, some of the people, let me continue.
Yes.
Some of the people that you've named have called you a liar. Have
Yes.
you considered suits against them?
No, but that's a great idea. Thank you. Would you represent me? God, one day, let me finish that. Well, first of all, it's a great question. You know, I know. Thank you so much for representing me. I got a free lawyer. I never had that when I was mayor. I wish I had known you then. Anybody else wants to volunteer? We're forming a team. You know, the basic thing: libel is when you write defamation, and slander is when you say it. Okay. Now, let me say this to you. When you write the book, libel, and there's some libelous stuff in the book. Naming names and everything. People said, well, why did you do that? I went to a publisher and I gave them the book and they go, oh, we can't publish that. Are you crazy? You're putting in this name and that name and this name. You're going to get sued. You're going to get shot. You're going to get killed. Change the names and we'll publish it for you. And I thought about it, and I really thought that would be a coward's way to do it. If I didn't have the courage to tell the truth, how could I stand in front of you good people and say, please forgive me? I made a mistake with my life. If I didn't have that courage to tell the truth. Defense to libel and to slander is the truth. They can say what they want about me. I haven't seen anybody sue me. And I haven't seen anybody, and I've offered this before. If anyone lies about the book or doesn't like any part of it, I say to them straight up front, I will submit to a polygraph test if they will. I haven't heard anybody come forward yet. I'm not one. I've heard a lot of grumbling, oh, where do we get that fat guy in the alley? But you know what? I feel much better telling the truth. And I think that's what makes the book so interesting, is that it does name names. And so many books don't. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's okay. I know he's a controversial figure, but I was wondering what your thoughts about the life and career of Rocky Pomerantz.
Wow. How do you feel about that one? What's your opinion on that one, sir?
I'm putting it on you.
Well, did you know Rocky?
No.
What did you think of his methods?
That's always
Did you like him? Of course. I'm trying to show you how a politician, you know, I'm trying to put you in the habit of what it's like to be a politician.
Right.
Because everybody goes, gee, I met the greatest guy in the world. What did he say? Nothing. How many remember this? I never had sex with that woman. I might have known her.